All right, let us get started. We are in Try Hack Me today. We are doing the Wonderland room. So if you are looking for the write-up to follow along, in case you get behind while we're doing this, can I get everyone to mute their mics, please? All right, so you can go to blackgirlshack.org/capture-the-flag. The password is, I think, just password. And you'll see at the very bottom the Alice in Wonderland, capture the flag. Oh, wait. So you'll need to join the room and then start your attack machine and also your victim machine. Any questions before we get started? So again, the write-up that we're going to be, for what we're doing today is here, in case you'd like to follow along. Or if I do something quicker than you are able to keep up with. All right, so while I'm waiting for my attack machine to get up, our general process is going to be the same as we do for all of the machines. They're basically telling us to obtain the flag for the user, escalate privileges, and then obtain the flag for the root. So the way that we're going to approach this is like the way we do all of the rest of them, which is to do a scanning error enumeration, figure out what services are running on the machine, figure out which one of them are vulnerable, and then see how we can try to make our way in. So any questions? All right, my IP address is 10.10.193.9. Yours may be different. So make sure that when you're doing these scans or whatever it is that we're doing here, that you do it using your IP address and not mine. All right, so we'll start off with the nmap scan. So we're going to do just nmap-a and then the IP address. So it's 10 minus 10.10.193.9. Yours is probably different. So the -A is going to get us all of the services, the trace route, the operating system, pretty much everything that we need to be able to do what we're going to do. And we're looking for the user.txt and the root.txt. So I'm just going to collapse this because we know what it is that we're looking for. All right, so when we do this, our scan completes. We see that we've got two things that are open up on here. We've got port 22 for SSH, and we've got a web server, which is a Golang net HTTP server, which is available on port 80, okay? And it tells us that this is a Linux machine. So we're going to put in the IP address for the web server into our browser and see what's going on. And again, we want to make sure we do this without HTTPS because most of the sites that you're going to do, like over Try Hack Me, are delivered over HTTPS, okay? So we see our friend who we are going to be hunting today, the white rabbit. All right, so it says, follow the white rabbit, curious sir, and curious sir, cried Alice. She was so much surprised from that moment, she forgot how to speak good English, okay? So there's nothing else on this page. As usual, the two things that we're gonna wanna do when we get into any web server is we're going to want to view the page source on the page to see if there's anything hidden. So in this case, it tells us that there is an image file of the white rabbit. And the other thing that we're going to want to do is to check and see if there's a robot.txt file. So we can do robots.txt, and there is nothing in the robots file. But we see here that there is an image directory. So let's see what's in there. We see that there are 3 files. There is a door JPEG, there's a door PNG, and there's a white rabbit, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and download those in case we need them. But the hint that we got was that we want to follow the white rabbit, okay? So I'm going to bet that the white rabbit is going to hold the key to a lot of the things that we're going to do, right? So we put those into our downloads folder. So let's see. All right, so we'll see that we have our 2 door pictures and we have our white rabbit, okay? So we're going to use a program that's called Steg Hide, and we're going to see if we can get any information from these pictures. So we'll say Steg Hide info, and then we're going to do Alice store, and we'll start with the JPEG. See what it tells us. And yes, we want to try to get information. And we do not have a passphrase. So there may or may not be something in there, but we don't know. So we'll check out the next one, which is the JPNG. So Steg Hide. And it says it's not in a format that's supported. That's fine. And let's also check out the last one, which is the white rabbit. And again, we want to try to get any hidden information. But it tells us that there is a file that's embedded in the file, in the white rabbit file, and it's called hint, right? So we want to use Steg Hide to extract that, okay? So we're going to say Steg Hide extract. dash SF, and we're going to do it to the white rabbit. So we don't have a passphrase, but it gave us a hint.txt anyway. So if we take a look, we'll see that there's a file called hint.txt, and then we can view that hint. So the hint says, follow the rabbit, and the rabbit is spaced out. Okay, so that is our hint. All right, so the next thing we do is we're going to take a look and see if there are any other hidden directories besides this image file. So we can use something like derb. Let me see what I did when I wrote this up. Yeah, let's see. Let's try derb. I'm sorry? Who was that? So we'll do a derb to see if we can find anything. And I see off the bat, there is an image file, which we've already checked out. There is a R directory, which we have not checked out. And then there is an A directory. So it says, hey, keep going. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? All right, so we also see that there is an RA. And it says, keep going. All right, so our hint actually had told us to follow the rabbit. So you'll notice that we have, at least now, the first two letters of rabbit. So we're going to keep going. And then it says, I don't much care where. Then it doesn't matter which way you go, said the cat. Keep going as long as I get somewhere. And T. So here we see it says, open the door and enter Wonderland. So this is actually just following the story of the Alice in Wonderland, which is actually one of my favorites. And we'll see what information is in here. So we see that there's a picture. So as usual, we want to try to look at the page source to see if there's anything interesting there. So again, we see a display and an image with Alice door, but we also see what looks to be credentials. So it says Alice and how do the little crocodile improve his shining tail? How doth? All right, so we're going to copy this. This is probably going to get us in somewhere, and we're going to try to see if we can log in as Alice. So you'll remember that the two things that we saw on this machine were an SSH on port 22, and the other thing was the web server on port 80. So we're going to log in using SSH. So we'll say SSH Alice at 10.10.193.9. Again, this is my IP address on my victim machine. Yours may be different. When we do that, it wants to know Alice's password. So we think we have it because this was in the file. So we put it in. And we're in there. We are in Wonderland as Alice. Okay. So let's ls and see what's in here. There are two things. There's a root.txt and there's a walrus and the carpenter .python file. Okay, so let's say ls-alt and see who owns these files. So we have in here a root.txt file, which is owned by root, unfortunately. And we also have a walrus and the carpenter file, which is owned by root as well. So there are no things that are interesting in here that are owned by Alice. Okay, so let's see if she's got any privileges to anything that we care about. All right, so we can say ls dash, no, I'm sorry, sudo dash l, see if she's got access to anything interesting. And we can put in the password, and it says that she has the ability to run Python as the rabbit. Okay, so that may be interesting later. Let's cd into home and see what else we can see here. So there are 4 folders in here. There is an Alice folder, there's an Hatter folder, and there is a rabbit folder. Okay. And we see that Alice owns the Alice folder, of course, and the rabbit owns the rabbit folder, and Hatter owns the Hatters folder. So let's see if we can get into, we know we're probably going to want to get into the Hatter. I'm sorry, into the rabbit. So let's see if we can get in there. It says permission denied for rabbit. It says permission denied for Hatter. And I think we were just in Alice and there was nothing in there. Yeah, except for the root.txt file and the walrus and the carpenter, which we know that we can run with sudo privileges. So let's see what's in this walrus file. All right, so we have a poem in the file. And we also have a for loop. And the for loop is using something that's called random. And it's printing out the lines of the poem. Okay, so that's maybe something that we may be able to do. So we know based on our su, let's see, sudo dash L, that we have the ability to run the program, the walrus and the carpenter as the rabbit. Okay, so we're going to try to do that and see if that gets us anywhere. Let me go see where I'm at in the document. And if you're following along, I am on page 12. Okay. All right. So we're going to say sudo -u, which means I want you to sudo into the rabbit because we see that we have access to be able to run this from the rabbit. We're going to use Python because we see it's a Python file. User bin Python. And this is just not magic knowledge that I just happen to know. It actually tells us that we need to run this as user bin Python 3.6. And then we're going to say home Alice Walrus and the Carpenter. All right, so when we do that, it helps if you spell rabbit the correct way and not. So when we do that, it tells us, it uses that for loop that we saw in there and it prints out some lines. Okay, so we're able to execute this, right? So in here, what it's executing is this for loop and something called random. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give it another random to run, except our random is going to be used for evil purposes. So we're going to create a file and we're going to call it random.python. So I want you to say touch random.python, just py. And we're going to use this, so say vi random.py, open it up and press I to be able to insert. And we're going to use this to try to open up a shell. Okay. Any questions so far? No? All right, so we need to put in here our our shell. Okay, give me 1 second. I did not write down what the command was for the shell. I think it's like bash something like that, but let me just check. This is what happens when you don't write good instructions. Let's do this. Import OS, and then we're going to say, stop making that noise. OS dot system bin and bash. All right, do you guys have that? All right, so we're going to escape. Okay, escape, and then say :WG, I'm sorry, WQ to get out of here, and save it. And then we're going to run it again, and I'm going to close this back. And we're going to run the thing again and see if we can get it to access. I spelled something wrong. vi random.py import. Oh, system has an S in it. All right, so we're going to try to run this again. And that gets us into the program as rabbit, okay? So we're going to say, who am I? And we'll see that with the rabbit now. But you could see that because it changed from Alice to the rabbit. So let's see what the rabbit has that's interesting. So we'll say ls. We still see this random.py that we created in the root. If we change to home, we know that the rabbit has, the rabbit has access to the rabbit folder. So if we say cd rabbit and ls, there is a Tea Party file. All right, and if you are following along, we're on page 16. So we're going to execute this file. So we're going to say dot, and you can tell that this is an executable file because it's highlighted in red. So we're going to run the Tea Party, and the Tea Party says, welcome to the Tea Party. The Mad Hatter will be here soon, probably Saturday at 6:26 p.m. Ask very nicely, and I will give you some tea while you wait for him. Right? So when we press enter, we'll see that it gives us a segmentation fault, and the core is dumped. Okay? So let's see what's in here. So let's say cat Tea Party. We may need to say, oh, that doesn't look very pretty. right, so I think that the next step is we need to check and take a look, because we know that the rabbit is the key. So we want to try to see if we can access the files. Let's see what the rabbit has access to. Let's say sudo -l. We don't have the rabbit's password, so that's not going to work. All right, let's see if the rabbit has access to some things. So let's cd into the home directory, and we are looking for two files. We're looking for the user.txt file, and we're looking for the what is it called? The root.txt file. All right, so let's see if the rabbit can access. He cannot access anything in here. Let's see if there is a file, user.txt, and then cat. Oh, and we get a, looks like we got a flag, cat root.txt, and there's no root.txt in here. So we can actually copy this, and you want to put it into your clipboard, and we'll see. Oh, no. That is, in fact, our user flag. So we are halfway there. And now we just need our root file. All right, so we're going to go back and take a look at the, so let's say vi home/rabbit. We're going to go back and look at this Tea Party file, and it didn't like it when I catted it, so I'm going to just open it up. And we see in here that there is a bunch of files, and there's a bunch of characters. Open. But we do know that the one thing that this file has us do is it displays the date and the time. So I'm trying to figure out where it does that. So let's go back. I'm going to exit out of here. Escape : WQ. Oh, okay. Escape : Q exclamation point to get out because we didn't make any changes. And I'll cat it again and see if I can just see it there. How they're calling the date. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out where the date is. Okay, so here it is. So it says probably by date and date. So this is where it's getting the message that it gives us that if we wait for the rabbit, then if we wait, then they'll give us some tea and we can look for the rabbit. So we're going to try to use this. for our evil purposes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a date program similar to the one that we did with the random. So let's do, I think we just need a date. I don't think this needs to be a Python file. So let me make sure I'm still in the same place as the tea party. I am. So I'm going to say touch date. That's going to create a date file for us. And then we're going to echo in there bin/bash and put it into the date folder. So if we ls now and we say cat date, we see that we have a file that's just going to run bin bash, right? So hopefully we will be able to execute this. So we're going to say, we're going to try to run the tea party again. And hopefully this time when it runs the tea party, it's going to use our date instead of the system date. And when we do that, we get the same segmentation fault. Okay, so what that typically means is that our date is not executable. So we need to make this file executable. So what we're going to do is say, we're going to say chmod, and we want to make it readable and writable, and we're going to say date. And if we ls now, we'll see the date is in green because it's executable. So we're going to try to run this again, and this hopefully should work. And again, we get a segmentation fault. Let's see. Oh, okay. I did this before when I wrote this up as well. All right, so it says I played with this for like an hour and a half. Come to find out, you have to tell the computer to actually where to look for the date file. So we need to update the path variable for this. Okay, so we're going to say export path equals home, and you should actually use an H and not a J, equals home/rabbit. So what this is going to say is we want it to look for whatever it is looking for in the rabbit file folder first before it goes looking at the system. So what we're hoping this is going to do is we're going to hope that it's going to use the date that we created instead of the date that the system has. So we're going to put that in there. And I think that that's all we need to do to try to run this again and see if it'll use our date instead of the other one. So when we do that and we're still getting, oh wait, let me see. All right, and we're still getting into a segmentation. So let me see if I did the thing correctly. Let's see. Tea party. I did a segmentation fault, but it still hops in and it's, let's see what's next. No. Export path equals home/rabbit. Did I do that wrong? Export path equals /home/rabbit. Let me see what happened. /bin.bash. maybe my bin.bash needs to have a insert. And then all right, so this is not getting us where we need to be. So I need to take a look and see why my date is not working. Let's see. Oh, okay. I know what I need. So I need bin/bash. Make this go little again. I'm going to change the permissions again. And then I'm going to run Tea Party again. Let's see. It was both lines. Bin/bash and then /bin/bash. Oh, and we need to make it executable. Which I thought that I did. Oh, I just changed the, let's see. Now this should work. Oh, still. Export path equals home rabbit $path. Ah, okay, that worked. All right, so we are in here now as the Hatter. And I can, who am I? It says I'm in here as the Hatter. All right, so you have to make sure that the file is executable, not just change its permissions. Wait, what? Okay. All right, so does anybody need me to go back and show them anything so that you can get to this part where you get in as a Hatter? All right, so we're in here as the Hatter, so we're going to say ls to see what's in here, just still the date and thing. So we'll come back and say cd into the home directory. And we know that the Hatter has access to its information at least, so we can cd into Hatter. And there is a password.txt file. So let's see what's in here. And it tells us, why is a raven like a writing desk? ? Okay, so we can use this to log in as the header. So let's say SSH into, mine was 10.10.193.9. This is not going to work. Oh, it did. Okay. I didn't tell it who to log in as. And I'm going to paste his password. And hopefully that works. Okay, and we are in here as the header. Now we are actually logged in as them, not just escalated privileges. So if we say ls, we'll see that there's a password file. There is nothing hidden in here. And let's do a sudo -l, and we can put in the his password. Let's see. Oh, and it says header may not run sudo on Wonderland. Okay, so but we need to execute privileges. So we're going to get a program that's called linps, which is Linux privilege escalation. So I think it's just sudo. I think I have it into the document. Yes, on page, what page is this? 21. We're going to, you can just copy that out of the document. You need to put it into the clipboard to get it over here. And then you can put it in here. And we're going to get linps. And if that doesn't work for you, our backup plan is to just go to the website and I'm not a robot. So this doesn't actually work because when I did this the first time, it did not. I'm just going to copy all of this. And I only want the information that's in here. And just in the interest of time, I'm going to, while this is doing this, open a new tab and SSH in here as we're in here as header. Header at 10.93.9 and their password. I don't think I can put all of that into. Does that work? No, it definitely did not put all of it in there. Does anybody want to copy and paste the password for the header? I think it's like, why is a raven like a rat, something. Actually, you know what? I can just, thank you. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Hopefully that works. All right, so we're going to create a program called linpeas.sh. I'm going to paste all of this stuff that hopefully is still in here. And it should end with a fee. Let's see if this ever completed. Yeah, this is still going. I'm going to cancel this. All right, so then we can escape and then colon WQ to save it. So now we need to make it executable. So we've learned our lessons from last time. So we're going to say chmod plus x linpeas. And then we're going to execute it. And linpeas does its magic. And it's going to tell us the different ways that we are going to be able to use to break into the system. So this gives you a whole lot of freaking information, which you can put into a file and then review. But what this does tell us is that one of the ways that we can get in here is through Perl. And I'm trying to see where I found that so I can show you what to look for. Let's see if I put a picture over here. Okay, here we go. We see that Perl has the set UID bit set. Okay, so that's something that we're going to be able to use to escalate our privileges. All right, so you can do a Google search to figure out how to do exploit with the set UID bit, what that means. But I included the command for you in here. And I literally just did a Google search on how to exploit the things that came back with. Oh, crap. You want to make sure that you put the Perl command into the clipboard first before you, and don't copy that whole linpeas program into your terminal window. I'm just going to close this so it'll stop. And so we're going to use the linpeas, we're going to use the Perl to execute. And when we do that, we get, who am I? We're root. So we can say ls, That's the other thing. You don't have any tab abilities or delete, so you have to make sure that you're correct. So we have our 2 files. So we want to go to CD into home / and it was, I think it's home root. Let's see. Oh, we want to get the root flag, which is in Alice's folder. So we can say Alice. And we see that there's the root file. So now we have root privileges. So we can say cat root.txt. Oh, and you can't tab. And you get the second flag. So you need to put that into your clipboard and pop your window back out. It's supposed to say you're at, so it encoded the apostrophe. So we can just get rid of that and say how I wonder where you're at and submit, and then it's correct. All right, so you'll notice that this was a little bit harder than some of the ones that we typically do. This is actually one of the medium rated rooms, but I wanted you just to see an example of, what it's like to actually go through and the kind of logic that you have to make and jumps that you have to make in order to get through. So any questions?
Hi, Tanisha.
Yes, please.
Hi, I have 3 quick questions.
Please.
Firstly, where can I find the write-up for this lab on your website?
Sure. If you go to blackgirlshack.org/CTF, the password is password. And then at the very bottom, it's Alice in Wonderland. So it's basically just the steps for, and I think just having gone through this now, the only thing that I forgot was the language or the stuff that you put into the bin file. But you can find how to do a bash shell online. It's just /2 lines, one with the hashtag and then one with just the /bin/ bash. But everything else is in here. All right, that was question 1. What is question 2?
Right, the random.py file. You run that file to get access to the rabbits directory.
Right, so if we, what we got off of the very beginning was we got a password from Alice. And so I'm going to into 10.10.193.9. And we're going to put, oh, no, this is not going to work. We want to SSH in as Alice. I'm going to put her password in here. And when we do that, we saw 2 things. So we saw that there was a root.txt file and we saw the walrus file, right? So if we take a look at the walrus file, the only thing this walrus file does is it has of interest is it has a for loop, which prints out certain lines of the poem, but it's looking at a function within the system called random. So the way the Linux machines work is that it'll look locally for random before it goes out and looks globally, okay? So we take advantage of that by creating a local version of random instead of it going out to look. So if we did a locate random, one of the things that should come up is that we'll see that there's a random.py file, but it's located in the Python 3.6 folder. So because we put a local version of the random file into our file where we're at now, random.py, when it goes to look for the random.py, it's going to look locally first and then look globally. So it's going to look for ours. It found ours, so it has no need to go and look for the one that it's going to find in random.py in the Python folder. Okay. So we're taking advantage of that. And the reason why we're taking advantage of that is because we saw when we did sudo-l that we saw that through Alice, she can run the walrus in the Carpenter Python file as the rabbit, right? So that's why we sudoed into the rabbit to be able to execute this file, right? So when we do that, we can execute the file. And when we execute the file, it's going to do what it says. So it's going to go through here. It's going to say for I equals 1 to 10. It's going to try to say, look at random, right? So when it does that, it's going to, instead of going to the random Python file, which is going to tell it to just select 10 random lines in here, it goes to ours, which just says execute our bash. And it gives us access to the system as rabbit. So basically what we're doing here is we are pivoting. We start off with Alice. We use Alice to get access to rabbit. We use rabbit to get access to the Hatter. And then we use the Hatter to get access to the root. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's an excellent explanation. Thanks a lot for that. My
All right.
final question. Sorry, my final question relates to the segmentation fault. Now, I know that you got that fault because we didn't make the date file executable. But
right. So the segmentation fault, it was set up to do the segmentation fault anyway when we get in there as Hatter, right? But as it's doing the segmentation fault, before it gets down to the end of whatever it is it's trying to do, one of the things that it does is try to run the date. Okay, so that's why we provided it with a local copy of the date using the same theory as we did for this random. It's going to look locally first before it goes and looks globally. So that's why we created a local version of the date so that when it looks for the date, it finds ours and then executes that. But our version of the date is just running a bash script so that we can get access to the next user. Okay, so when we did that, we saw that we were able to get access to the Hatter, right? So let's see. Yeah, so we exported the path and we said, hey, I want you to look in the rabbit file first. And then when we did that and executed, it gave us access to the Hatter. And then once we got in as the Hatter, we were able to look at the password file and see what the password is. And then we were able to actually log in. Because one of the things that you'll see once you start doing this is that, like the temporary shells that we get are very flaky, right? So you mess up something and then it's just like you get kicked out, right? And then you have to go back over again, right? So as much as possible, if you figure out what the username and password is, you want to just log in so that you have a stable shell, right? And then when we did that, we were able to get in here and we're in here as the Hatter, okay? And then we were able to, from the Hatter who had the highest level of privileges, do our LinPs, which is Linux privilege escalation. And when we did that, it identified, all of the different ways that we could try to exploit it. And we just picked the Perl because that was the quickest one for me to Google. So the segmentation fault was really just a, it was going to show you the poem and it was just meant to, I guess kind of distract you, right? Because in the end, we still saw the segmentation fault, but what happened was, so see, you still has the segmentation fault, but in the end, we ended up being in as the Hatter instead of here. We ended up being in here as the Hatter as opposed to the rabbit. So like even when you if you go back and look at the thing, if you go through and you go from Alice to rabbit, and then you go from rabbit to the point where you're going to hatter, you'll see that the segmentation fault still happens. It just happens, and then it executes the bash script, and it puts us in as the hatter.
That was great. That was very helpful. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, we will do this again next week. So on Friday nights, we do the Friday night labs, and then on Saturday, we do something that's capture the flag. So there are other capture the flags in TryHackMe if you want to try to get some practice, but we generally will try to go through either a TryHackMe themed capture the flag or another one, depending on what's going on. I think Pico capture the flag just had a 2021, so we might do some of those in capture the flag also next week. But that's all I have for you. So thank you all for coming out, and I will catch you on the Slack.